Have you ever noticed how a single realization can suddenly make years of confusion start falling into place? That is exactly what is happening for someone connected to you right now. They weren't searching for answers. They weren't trying to revisit the past. In fact, they believed they already understood everything they needed to understand. But recently, something shifted. A truth they had overlooked for a very long time quietly revealed itself, and since that moment, they have not been able to stop thinking about you. Your heart needs this right now, because some discoveries do not arrive with noise or drama. They arrive in silence, changing everything without warning. At first, they tried to dismiss it. They told themselves they were reading too much into old memories. They convinced themselves it was simply nostalgia returning for a moment. Yet the more they reflected, the more impossible it became to ignore what they were seeing. Pieces of the past that once seemed disconnected suddenly began fitting together. Certain moments started making sense in ways they never had before. Conversations they barely remembered now felt important. Memories they once overlooked now seemed to contain clues they missed entirely. And listen to this. What unsettles them most is not the truth itself. It is realizing that the truth had been there all along, hidden beneath assumptions, distractions, and misunderstandings. Now that they have finally seen it, they cannot unsee it. The connection looks different. The memories feel different. And for the first time in a very long time, they are beginning to wonder whether this story was far more meaningful than they ever allowed themselves to believe. And listen to this. After that realization appeared, something unusual began happening. Instead of moving on from the thought, they found themselves becoming increasingly drawn toward it. Not because they wanted to overthink the past, but because the truth they uncovered seemed to answer questions they didn't even realize they were carrying. For a long time, there were parts of the connection that never fully made sense to them. Certain emotions seemed stronger than they should have been. Certain memories stayed alive far longer than expected. Certain moments continued resurfacing no matter how much time passed. Now, for the first time, they are beginning to understand why. Recently, they have found themselves looking back at the connection from an entirely different perspective. Not through the lens of what happened, but through the lens of what it meant. And that shift has changed everything. Before, they focused on circumstances. They focused on timing, situations, and external factors. Now they are paying attention to something deeper. They are paying attention to the impact the connection left behind. The more they examine that impact, the more they realize it was far greater than they originally believed. Your heart needs this right now, because sometimes people don't recognize the significance of a connection while they are living through it. Sometimes understanding arrives much later. It arrives after enough time has passed for emotions to settle and distractions to disappear. That is exactly where they find themselves now. The noise is gone. The assumptions are fading. What remains is a growing awareness that something important existed beneath the surface all along. And listen to this carefully. One thing keeps surprising them. The memories themselves are not what capture their attention the most. It is the feelings attached to those memories. They notice how certain moments still affect them emotionally. They notice how some thoughts continue creating a reaction that feels as strong as ever. They notice how easily their mind returns to the same places, the same conversations, and the same emotional experiences. The more they observe this pattern, the harder it becomes to dismiss it as coincidence. What they are beginning to understand is that meaningful connections leave traces behind. Not obvious traces, not dramatic signs that demand attention. Quiet traces, the kind that reveal themselves years later when a person finally slows down enough to notice them. Your soulmate is beginning to notice them now. Every reflection seems to uncover another layer they had previously overlooked. Every memory seems to contain a lesson they failed to recognize before. It feels as though the past is revealing secrets it kept hidden for a very long time. And listen to this. The most powerful part of this experience is that it is changing the way they see themselves as well. The truth they uncovered is not only teaching them about the connection, it is teaching them about their own heart. It is helping them understand why certain people remain unforgettable. It is helping them understand why some experiences continue shaping us long after they end. Most importantly, it is helping them understand why thoughts of you continue appearing when they least expect them. Now, they find themselves in a place they never anticipated. A place where old assumptions no longer feel reliable. A place where new questions are beginning to emerge. Questions that grow stronger each day. Because the more they reflect on this hidden truth, the more they realize it explains something they have been trying to understand for a very long time. Why, after everything, the connection never truly left them. And that realization is leading them toward an even deeper understanding of what this connection has always meant. And listen to this. The more they sat with this revelation, the more they began noticing something they had never fully understood before. It wasn't just that the connection stayed in their mind. It was that the connection seemed to exist in places beyond memory. Certain experiences reminded them of you without warning. Certain emotions seemed connected to something they could never quite explain. For years, they ignored those moments. They brushed them aside and treated them as random thoughts. But now, after uncovering this hidden truth, they are beginning to see a pattern they can no longer overlook. Your heart needs this right now, because sometimes a truth does not create new feelings. Sometimes it explains feelings that were already there all along. Recently, they have been reflecting on why some people become part of our story in a way that feels different from everyone else. Many people enter our lives. Many people leave. Yet only a few continue influencing us long after circumstances change. That realization has captured their attention. They are beginning to understand that what made this connection unique was never what happened on the surface. It was what continued happening beneath the surface long afterward. The emotional impact remained active even when they believed it was over. And listen to this carefully. For the first time, they are starting to connect pieces that once felt unrelated. They are realizing that certain decisions they made were influenced by lessons they learned through this connection. Certain changes within themselves began during this chapter of their life. Certain standards, values, and emotional understandings emerged because of experiences connected to you. Looking back now, they can see your influence in places they never thought to look before. And that realization has left them stunned. What surprises them most is not the memories themselves. It is the depth of the influence those memories carried. They are beginning to understand that some connections are important not only because of what they were, but because of what they awaken within a person. Your heart needs this right now because the most powerful connections often continue shaping us long after direct contact has ended. They become part of our growth, part of our understanding, part of the person we eventually become. Lately, they have noticed that every path of reflection seems to lead back to the same conclusion. No matter how they try to explain it logically, the emotional significance remains. No matter how much time has passed, the impact remains. No matter how many different perspectives they explore, they continue arriving at the same realization. This was never an ordinary connection. Ordinary connections fade naturally into the background of life. They become memories and eventually lose their emotional charge. But this connection followed a different path. It remained present. It remained meaningful. It remained alive in ways they never expected. And listen to this. The hidden truth they discovered is finally helping everything make sense. It explains why the memories remained vivid. It explains why certain emotions never completely disappeared. It explains why thoughts of you continue appearing during moments when they should have no reason to appear at all. For the first time, they are no longer questioning whether the connection mattered. That answer feels obvious now. Instead, they are beginning to understand something much bigger. They are beginning to understand why the connection mattered. And the deeper they explore that realization, the more they feel that it is changing the way they see their past, their present, and perhaps even the future itself. And listen to this. What began as a discovery has now become a transformation. The truth they uncovered is no longer just something they think about from time to time. It has started changing the way they interpret everything connected to you. Memories that once seemed isolated now feel connected. Events that once felt random now appear meaningful. It is as if someone turned on a light inside a room they thought they already understood, only to reveal details that had been hidden in plain sight all along. Your heart needs this right now because some truths do not simply answer questions. They completely change the way we see the story itself. Recently, they have found themselves revisiting assumptions they carried for years. Assumptions that once felt solid and unquestionable now seem surprisingly fragile. They are beginning to realize how much of their understanding was built on incomplete information. They believed they knew what certain moments meant. They believed they understood the significance of certain choices. They believed they had already figured out why things unfolded the way they did. But now, standing on the other side of this realization, they can see that their perspective was limited. There were pieces of the puzzle they never considered. There were emotional truths hidden beneath the surface that they were not ready to recognize at the time. And listen to this carefully. One of the biggest shifts happening within them is the way they view the connection's purpose in their life. Before, they saw it as an experience. Now they are beginning to see it as a turning point. The difference between those two perspectives is enormous. Experiences come and go. Turning points leave permanent marks. The more they reflect, the more they realize this connection influenced their path in ways they never appreciated before. It shaped decisions. It inspired growth. It challenged old beliefs. It revealed parts of themselves that may have otherwise remained hidden. Your heart needs this right now because people often underestimate the significance of the moments that change them. Real transformation rarely announces itself while it is happening. Only later do we look back and recognize how deeply something affected us. That is exactly what they are experiencing now. The hidden truth has given them a completely new understanding of why this connection remained so important despite everything that happened. Afterward, what surprises them most is how natural this understanding feels. Instead of creating more confusion, it is creating alignment. Instead of producing more questions, it is creating certainty. The pieces are fitting together in ways they never expected. They are finally understanding why certain memories refuse to fade, why certain emotions never fully disappeared, why thoughts of you continued appearing during moments when they seemed least expected. The answer feels clearer with every passing day. And listen to this. As this clarity continues growing, something else is happening as well. The excuses that once protected them are beginning to lose their power. The explanations they used to avoid deeper feelings no longer feel convincing. The walls they built around certain emotions are slowly coming down. What remains is a simple but powerful realization. The connection mattered more than they allowed themselves to believe. Not because of fantasy, not because of wishful thinking, because the truth itself has revealed it. And now that they can see it clearly, there is no returning to the old way of understanding things. Their perspective has changed. Their heart has changed. And the deeper they embrace this truth, the more they realize that the connection is still teaching them something important even now. Something that is preparing them for the next chapter that is quietly beginning to unfold. And listen to this. The most remarkable part of this journey is not the hidden truth itself. It is what happened after the truth was revealed. Because once they finally saw the connection clearly, something inside them began to settle. For so long, there had been unanswered questions lingering beneath the surface. Questions they could never fully resolve. Questions they often ignored because the answer seemed out of reach. But now those questions are losing their power. Not because every detail has been explained, but because the bigger picture has finally come into focus. Your heart needs this right now, because clarity does not always arrive by giving us more information. Sometimes it arrives by helping us understand what was already there. Recently, they have noticed a shift in the way they think about you. The thoughts no longer feel random. They no longer feel like fragments of the past unexpectedly appearing. Instead, each thought feels connected to a deeper understanding they have gained. It is as though every memory, every lesson, and every emotion has found its proper place. What once felt confusing now feels meaningful. What once felt unfinished now feels important. And the more they embrace this understanding, the more impossible it becomes to ignore what their heart has been trying to show them. And listen to this carefully. One realization continues growing stronger with every passing day. The connection was never meant to be measured by time. It was never meant to be measured by circumstances, distance, or periods of silence. Those things may have shaped the journey, but they never defined its significance. What defined its significance was the impact it left behind, the growth it inspired, the awareness it created, the emotional imprint it carried long after everything else changed. They are beginning to understand that now, in a way they never could before. Your heart needs this right now, because some truths arrive when a person is finally ready to receive them. Not earlier, not later. At exactly the moment they are capable of understanding their meaning. Your soulmate feels as though they have reached that moment. Looking back, they can see how certain events led them here. They can see how experiences they once questioned were quietly guiding them toward this realization. Even the confusion had a purpose. Even the uncertainty carried a lesson. And now those lessons are revealing something valuable. What surprises them most is the sense of peace that has followed this discovery. They expected the truth to create emotional chaos. They expected it to bring more questions, more overthinking, and more uncertainty. Instead, it has brought clarity. It has brought acceptance. It has brought a feeling that they are finally seeing the connection for what it truly was, rather than what they assumed it to be. That feeling has changed the way they view everything. And listen to this. As they move forward, they are no longer trying to explain away the connection or minimize its importance. They are no longer searching for reasons to dismiss what they feel. The hidden truth removed the need for that. What remains now is something much simpler and much stronger. Understanding. The understanding that some people enter our lives for a reason that cannot be fully understood in the moment. The understanding that some connections continue shaping us long after they begin. And the understanding that once a profound truth reveals itself, there is no returning to the person you were before you knew it. Your soulmate feels that transformation now. The truth has been revealed. The meaning has become clear. And because of that, thoughts of you no longer feel like a mystery. They feel like a reminder of something real, something lasting, and something that can no longer be ignored.